We spend a lot of time talking about magic as spells, correspondences, techniques. We talk about timing and planetary hours, lunar phases, magical scripts, deities, angels, spirits, candles, colors, herbs, incantations, visualization, and all of those things definitely have their place. But underneath every magical technique is something much deeper. What makes someone successful in magic is how they perceive the world. Imagine two different people walking through the very same forest. They may be even walking together, having a conversation. One person notices the trees and notices the animals and the birds. They might notice a stream. They might notice some insects. But the other person notices a living conversation. One person may see the fallen leaves on the ground, and the other one sees those same leaves and sees transformation and the cycle of life. One person hears the birds singing, and the other one hears life continually expressing itself. There's no difference in the two forests. The difference is the perception of each of those two individuals. And that's where magic actually begins. One of the greatest misconceptions about magic is that we are trying to escape our ordinary world. Nothing could be further from the truth. Magic is not teaching us to escape the world. It's teaching us to wake up to it. Perhaps for the very first time, when we first start studying magic, we naturally become fascinated with unusual experiences. Omens, visions, apparitions, manifestations, synchronicities. And those things happen, and they're wonderful. But if we're not careful, we start looking for magic only in the extraordinary. An adept discovers something much more beautiful. The ordinary is where the magic has been living all this time, right before our eyes. It's that old trick of keeping something secret by hiding it in plain sight. Most people will look at a flower and say, "Oh, what a pretty flower." But the adept sees sacred geometry, growth, harmony, sacred fragrance. The adept understands that life is in a state of constant self-expression. The flower is a lesson. Nature is a teacher. And this isn't because the adept has invented meaning and superimposed itself on nature. It's because the adept has slowed down enough to listen and notice what's been speaking to the adept all this time. One of the things that we learn in Hermetic philosophy is the law of correspondence. As above, so below. Everything reflects something else. Something larger has its reflection in the something smaller. The microcosm is a direct reflection of a macrocosm. Fire isn't just fire, it's transformation. Water isn't just water, it's receptivity. The moon isn't just a satellite, it's the teacher of rhythm and cycles. The adept knows that nature speaks and teaches through symbolic language. And so little by little, as we grow toward our adepthood, we learn to listen more and more. I want to say something very important. Living symbolically is not the same thing as being superstitious. Not everything is a sign. Not every coincidence has some hidden cosmic meaning just for us. Because not everything is about our personal storyline. We learn that our personal storyline is actually insignificant as we become more adept in our magical path. So many people who want to walk a magical path try to superimpose meaning as if the universe is trying to guide their storyline, when in reality, the universe is trying to communicate via our soul so that we can rise above our storyline. And that's why in practical magic, our storyline becomes so malleable because it's not as important to us anymore. We can choose. It's just a preference. If you're going to a restaurant, And you think, do I want the Cobb salad or do I want that cold cucumber soup? It's just a matter of choice. It's not a big part of your storyline. It doesn't have any meaning. It's just a preference. And when we start to see our storyline as a series of preferences, we get to just choose. And that's what practical spellcasting is all about, is not worrying so much about the importance of our specific personal storyline. An adept isn't gullible. When we stop trying to force meaning onto every little thing, we discover meaning where it naturally reveals itself. One is the action of a small ego, and the other is the action of the adept. One of the greatest gifts of the craft is that it restores something that most of us have lost, and that is curiosity. Children naturally live in wonder. They ask questions, they explore, they notice. Sometimes they notice things that we would rather they not notice, which is, I think, one of the reasons why we shut that down in children. Little by little, we become trained to stop noticing. We're trained to look at the world as something familiar, routine, predictable. But a magician chooses to remain curious. We choose to continue asking, what is this teaching me? What am I noticing? What is life revealing to me today? Curiosity is what keeps us awake to our souls. And it can seem like a nitpicky difference between superimposing meaning upon our lives and asking life to reveal itself to us. But it's a very different mechanism of the mind. One has curiosity, the other one does not. What is this teaching me? What am I noticing? What is being revealed to me? You will frequently hear me say that results are your proof in magic. Magic is supposed to work, but I'd like to add something to that. Meaning is one of our teachers. Notice what keeps returning. Notice recurring themes in your life. Notice the lessons that seem to come around again and again. Notice the types of spells that you think you need to cast again and again. Notice what's constantly capturing your attention. Notice what hooks you. Life has a remarkable way of continually inviting us into greater awareness, but only when we're willing to notice, only when we are willing to be receptive to it. A receptive mind rather than a projective mind. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a projective mind, and that's how we live our lives 99.9% of the time. So that's not something you're going to lose. When you can have even a 50% receptive and 50% projective mind, the entire world changes in front of your eyes. One of the most beautiful changes that occurs on the magical path is that ordinary life slowly becomes sacred. Making your morning coffee or your morning tea, lighting a candle, opening the curtains, walking through a garden, greeting a stranger, purchasing something at the market. None of these things is an interruption to our spiritual life. They are our spiritual life. What will change is our ability to perceive the sacred in our daily life. When we cast a circle, when we first learn to cast the circle, we do it because we need sacred space. But eventually, we discover the whole world is our circle. When we start to realize that every moment presents an opportunity to encounter the divine, our world changes. When your perception of the world changes, everything about the world is different. It may not look different to other people, but it will be a completely different world for you. I think that's why beauty is always so important and has always been so important in magical practice. Why do we light candles? Why do we arrange flowers on our altar? Why do we use beautiful symbols? Why do we sing or chant? Why do we burn incense or use beautiful, lovely perfumes? Not because the divine requires that we use these things, but because beauty helps us to remember the divine. The divine is beauty. You can't make the divine more beautiful, but when you perceive the beauty around you, you automatically lock into your connection with the divine. Things become beautiful to us where they weren't before. We no longer superimpose a societal norm of beauty on everything, which is so restrictive. And it's not a mistake, by the way. The ego mind, the demiurgic mind, the world mind has an agenda to keep us stuck, to keep us asleep. And one of the things it uses to do that is teaching us what's beautiful and what it calls ugly. When we start to free ourselves from the restrictions of this part of the mind, we recognize that there is no such thing as beautiful and ugly. There's only different expressions of beauty, infinite expressions of beauty. A rose is not more beautiful than a daisy. An oak tree is not more beautiful than a palm tree. A robin is not more beautiful than an eagle. There's no such thing as Bermuda grass being more beautiful than dichondra. Nature has different expressions of beauty. Those different expressions of beauty are everywhere. And when we learn to drop the demiurgic way of looking at the world through the lens of separation, we see that there are infinite expressions of beauty everywhere. Once that happens, we become changed for good. You can't unclose that door. You can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. Once you see the beauty, the jig is up. You are forever changed. The greatest magical tool we possess is not a wand, an athame, an altar. Our greatest magical tool is the power of attention. And when I say attention, I mean reverent attention. Anyone can pay attention. Anxious people pay attention. Angry people pay attention. Obsessive people pay attention. But the adept practices reverent attention, and that's very different. It's attention without judgment. It's attention without grasping, without manipulating. It's attention that allows us to become available to what is being shown to us. Learning magic is not learning to see things that other people can't see. It's learning to perceive what everyone is looking at in a way that is different. We perceive things differently. What are you giving your attention to? What are you overlooking? What have you stopped perceiving because it's become so familiar? When attention changes, perception changes. And when perception changes, experience changes. And that's how our whole world changes. It's not so much that the magician sees more than everybody else. It's just that the magician perceives what's there and most people do not. We don't need more. That's the problem. We think we need more. We don't need more of anything because we have everything. The entire universe is being presented to us in each and every moment. When we open up our perception, we understand that. The world doesn't need to suddenly become magical to us. We need to discover the world has always been magical. And the magic reveals itself to us only when we are willing to perceive it. It's not something that we have to add to our life. It's something that we must awaken to. Maybe your next magical operation isn't a new spell. Maybe it's walking outside, slowly, looking, listening, not trying to accomplish anything, just allowing yourself to notice. Notice the beauty. Notice the rhythm. Notice life as it's presenting itself to you. Listen to the teacher in every moment. What are you being taught? The quiet presence of the divine expressing itself to you everywhere at all times. And I have a feeling that once you begin to perceive things this way, you will never, ever see the world as ordinary again. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I so appreciate you. Until next time, blessed be.